Hello and welcome to Unwind Sessions, where right after my shift I give the highlights of my workday and answer any questions that might have been asked at a previous session. My name is Juan. I am an English, Spanish, medical video remote consecutive interpreter with over 4 years of experience. Today is Tuesday, July 6, 2021, and I took a total of 32 sessions today. It was a mix, like always, audio sessions and video sessions, but way more video sessions than usual. There were probably like 4 or 5 audio sessions today, which are always nice, but not nice enough, right? So anyway, I hope that the audio quality is better now. I have the new mic, but for some reason the native camera from my Moto G7 was not working. Was not accepting the microphone. So you could see my brother Adrian, who helps us with this channel as well. He's a part of Interpret Your World. He does all the audio and everything. I had him confused. He was like, "Are you sure your new mic is working?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's working," because I thought I tested it and it worked. But he was like, "Well, I can hear you clearer, but I still can't get the audio level to go that high, so do some troubleshooting." So, and he told me this once, and then like I did my troubleshooting, not so good, and then it was and then like, so it was like a placebo, right? He was like, "Well, it's working, but I don't know why." So yesterday I actually went ahead and I did all of the testing that I could, and I figured out that it wasn't working. So I was able to get it to work last night with a new app. So hopefully this app works. Hopefully you're getting a better audio quality, right? And hopefully you can hear me better. Hopefully this works. And I don't know about the length of the videos. I don't know if this app cuts the videos at 30 minutes like the other app. I hope it doesn't, and I'm going to see today what I can do about that for longer videos, right there. That way I don't have to hurry up at the end and cut them off like I did yesterday's video and other videos that I've done before. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that, and please let me know if the audio is much better, since that was a thing that one of our viewers had already complained about. So yeah, hopefully the audio is better. And moving on, today I have a couple of new terms and a story, and then, well, not a story, a highlight, and then I'm gonna answer a couple of questions from our viewers. So let's get started. And the first word that I didn't know was demeanor. Now, I have heard demeanor, and I did not know what it was, surprisingly. And I knew that I had heard it before. I know that I've heard it before, but I just didn't know what it was, and I was spelling it wrong when I looked it up. And let me show you the word demeanor. So here it is. This is the English word, that's how you spell it, and then this is how you spell it in Spanish. So comportamiento. So demeanor, the Google definition for that says that outward behavior or bearing, right? So now I know, every time I hear the word demeanor, I'm gonna know that it's behavior, and I'm gonna go ahead and interpret it just like that. And honestly, I can't believe that I didn't know what that word was, but I didn't. So moving on, another term that I'm gonna teach you guys today is an actual term that I didn't hear, but this highlight seemed quite amazing to me, because this is something that I had never heard before, and the provider did not say the word, did not say the term. I had to look it up because I just found it very interesting, and I had to share it with you guys. So before I do, let me show you what that word looks like. And that word in English is pneumatic. pneumaturia, and in Spanish is neumaturia. So if you are good with your prefixes and roots, you know that every time you see this, I'm not sure if this is a prefix or a root. I think it's a prefix. But when you hear that, that has something to do with the lungs or something to do with air. So let me tell you what that is. And the definition from healthlight.com says that pneumaturia is a word to describe air bubbles that pass in your urine. Pneumaturia alone isn't a diagnosis, but it can be a symptom of certain health conditions. Now, it says that the causes for pneumaturia include urinary tract infection and passageways between the colon and the bladder called a fistula. That's the word that you're going to need to remember, that don't belong there. So what the doctor said, he wasn't sure. He sent him to a specialist. I can't remember what specialist he sent him to, but he told them that most likely, because let me tell you the story. The gentleman said that air came out of his penis, and he was uncircumcised, so his foreskin would actually make the balloon sound, when you're like letting go of a full air of balloon, like. The gentleman said he was actually like farting from his penis. So I found that very, very strange, and if you don't find that very strange, I don't know what's wrong with you, but that is amazing. I've never heard of anything like it. So then the doctor told him that this was because his intestines could have made a connection to his penis somehow, and air was getting filtered into his urinary tract, and that was causing the air to come out of his penis. And the doctor said that was very dangerous because that could cause a lot of UTIs, things from the intestines are going into the kidneys, the bladder, and all of that, and that's not good. So he told him that he needed to go to the specialist right away, and I'm pretty sure the man did, but he had this condition for 2 months. So I hope that he was able to get to a doctor in time and that everything is well with him, and I hope it never happens to any of you guys. So yeah, and another thing that I'm gonna mention today, this was like one of the very last sessions, and this is like my pet peeve. I hate it when somebody does this. I hate it so much, and they still do it. Let me tell you what happened. So actually, there's another thing that I have to mention before that. I was on a session, and we were on the end of the session, and I had this urge to pee. It was so bad that I just wanted to end the session, and I know that it was like right at the end of the session, and so we were saying our goodbyes and everything, and I actually told the lady, I was like, all right, thank you for your help, goodbye. And the lady laughed, and I didn't realize it until I logged off and I ran to the bathroom, and I was like, why did she laugh? And then I realized that I had said, thanks for your help. So I had a laugh as well. But that's just something that happened, man. Of course, my mind was at the toilet, right? I just wanted to get my bladder empty. So yeah, that happened. And yeah, so now what I want to tell you about what my pet peeve is, let me tell you. So this lady had to fill out some paperwork, and she didn't know where to send it. So she goes and asks the provider, so where do I send this to? And of course I interpret, and then the provider responds, well, you can mail it to this address right here, and points to the address, right? And I was about to interpret that, and the lady didn't let me answer. And you know what she asked? She asked, can I send it through the mail? So now, I was a little confused. I was like, so what do I do? And it took me a couple of seconds to come out with the right answer. And I just completely ignored the lady. I didn't interpret what she said because the doctor already given me the answer, right? So I just went ahead and I interpreted what the doctor said. I told her, well, you can just mail it right here. And then the lady said, oh, okay. But the thing that I hate about this is if why I don't get it. Why is it that if they don't speak English, they don't understand what the other person is saying, why do they like ignore what the other person is saying, right? Like, and then they ask the same thing, like they literally ask what the other person just told them. Like the other person just told them the answer, but they didn't want to listen, and they just asked this what was just answered, right? And that is horrible. That's horrible. I hate it. I hate it when they do it. So don't do it. Like if you were gonna do it, right? But anyways, I really hate that, and it happens more often than I would like. And I handle it different ways. Sometimes I just do it like this. I completely ignore the person's questions because I know that I'm going to interpret the answer. Sometimes, I'm sorry. Sometimes I let the provider know. The gentleman just asked what you answered, so I'm just going to go ahead and interpret what you said. And other times, I just interpret the question right away, and I just have the gentleman answer it again. It just depends on what kind of a mood I'm in, and we're making split decisions all the time, so that actually factors in to what I actually do. So yeah, if it ever happens to you, I'm pretty sure you'll get annoyed by it as well. So those are my highlights. So let's move on to the viewers' questions. And Fabiola Miller, I'm going to answer your question today. And your question is, I went to a doctor's appointment, and at the end the patient said to the nurse, tramposo, me dolió mucho al final. Cheater, it really hurts at the end. I wanted to say that, but I didn't. Is that correct? Now, Fabiola, it is correct, but for some reason it just does not sound well when I say it. Like when I say it out loud, a cheater, it really hurts at the end. And it is not wrong, honestly, but I think saying trickster or you tricked me fits better there. Like, for example, trickster, it really hurts at the end. Well, that doesn't really sound that good. It sounded better when I was writing it. But I think if you say, like, you tricked me, it really hurts at the end, I think, like, that fits much better. And again, it's not wrong, and I think it's more of a personal preference. And remember that we make split decisions all the time. I don't know what you said, but if the other party understood what you said, that's all there is to it. And sometimes I really get stuck on jokes since I'm not really used to like interpreting them all the time, right? So I really have a hard time like translating the punchline to get a laugh, and sometimes it makes me feel bad, like I'm not a good interpreter. But I mean, like Latin or Mexican or Hispanic humor is very different to like United States humor, right? So like those get tricky, and that's where being a cultural broker comes in, and you are going to have to make it work. I've heard stories of people actually, and you can look this up in Google, where people like they didn't know how to actually like interpret the punchline. So they said that I remember a story where one man said that he was in a conference and he was interpreting, and then the speaker said a joke. So the person was put on the spot, right? He didn't know how to be a cultural broker and actually get the humor to make sense in his target language. And when he interpreted it was, this man just made a joke, please laugh. Honestly, that's what he said. And that's genius. I mean, he didn't break his head just trying to figure out how to make people laugh, you know? And he got the reaction that the speaker actually wanted. Now, whether that's good or not, that's debatable. I mean, if I was put in the spot and it was like really hard, I don't know what I would have done, honestly. And sometimes like I just say the literal thing, and of course it doesn't get that much of a laugh or a great laugh like the person was expecting. So those are tough. And remember that interpreting is an art, and there are many ways to interpret an idea without shifting its meaning. And like I always say, just do your best. And moving on, another question from Marcelo Andre Cortez Cepeda. He said, "Your videos are great. Thank you for that. I know you already made a talking about yourself video, but could you share with us how did you start as an interpreter? Like if you had any previous training before working and things of that nature, it would be great." So to start off, I have always been the family interpreter or translator. There's a funny story that there's a video that I actually made an online session. You can find it. I can't remember which one that was. Maybe Interpreter Origins or Interpreter Beginnings or something like that. Funky title. And so yeah, I was always the family interpreter when my family didn't know something or they needed to communicate with someone. I was the go-to interpreter, and that I hated it. Honestly, I hated it because of course I was not used to interpreting, and I got stuck on so many words. It was horrible, and I hated it. I hated being the family interpreter, but there was no one else, right? So I had to take that job, and it was so I wouldn't say that that helped me professionally at all, because like I didn't do a good job and I didn't even try. It was just like, all right, whatever, right? And like when I started learning English as well, I remember that I used to cry when I did my homework because I literally had like a English Spanish dictionary that was like this thick. So I had to go ahead and interpret, and that's like Google interpreting, right? Because you're interpreting word for word. So then I just couldn't like understand anything. Like imagine like having a little kid having to do his homework interpreted by Google, right? That little kid's gonna have a hard time, but I mean it's easier than what I was doing. So if you're doing that, kid, don't cry. How it works, right? So yeah, and I mean, so there was not much value in being a family interpreter because I didn't like it and I was not doing a good job at it, and I never thought I would be a professional interpreter. It never even crossed my mind. Another thing that I actually did, I volunteered at my middle school once. They were doing like this health fair for people, and they had us volunteer to see if we wanted to help LEPs. And yeah, I volunteered. I don't even know why I volunteered, but I volunteered. Maybe I just wanted to get out of the house. And I remember that I was in a vaccination spot with some firefighters, and since I was the interpreter, there wasn't really much interpretations that I had to do. But since I wasn't working that much, the firefighters decided to have a little fun with me, and they had me interpret. They told me, how would you say, is if this band's a rocking, don't come a knocking. And now, like I took it as rocking, as in rock and roll, you know, woo, rock and roll. And what I interpreted it as was, si esta camioneta está rockeando, no vengan a molestar, or no vengan a tocar, something like that, which literally it's like the literal meaning, like rocking but rocking, you know, not rocking. Now if I had to interpret that, I would have probably not interpreted it literally, or probably, yeah, I think it would work. Si esta camioneta se está meneando, no vengan a tocar. Si esta camioneta se está meneando, no vengan a molestar would be much better. So, you know, you have to change like the wording to make it make a little bit more sense and to flow better in Spanish. But yeah, I mean, that's as far as previous training goes. And like I mentioned in my other video, I was an electrician for a very long time. I worked in industrial maintenance, and I always kept several side hustles. But to be honest, it felt like they were always hustling me more than I was hustling the side hustles. So like I always did them, but I was making peanuts out of them. But hey, I never stopped trying. And I never planned to become an interpreter. It just happened randomly, and I'm sure I have mentioned this story before, and it was probably one of those videos. I don't remember which one, like the interpreter origins or interpreter beginnings, something like that. And just basically, I'm not gonna tell you the whole story again. I'm just gonna tell you what happened. So I was hustling with a MLM company, and I called a friend who I hadn't seen in a long time, and he agreed to everything that he said to my presentation, to go to his home and just talk to him and convince him on joining my company, right? And once I got home from that training, I had an email from him, and he said, the email literally read, here's a company that pays good so you don't have to get people to join your pyramid scheme. So that email changed my life forever, and I thank you so much for that, Mimo, because you changed my life with that email. I never went back to this MLM company, and I became an interpreter, but it was not that easy. Like, once I had this opportunity, I just wanted to become the best interpreter in the world. Like, a day before or some hours before, it had never even crossed my mind. But as soon as I had an opportunity, as soon as I had a chance, this completely shifted my thinking. And of course, I was able to see how much I was making. I was making how much was I making back then? Like 8,000 pesos, and this new opportunity was going to make me like 12,000 pesos. So that is like what is it? 3 times 4 equals 12. So that's like third, like 33% increase in my pay. So I would have been crazy not to want to be an interpreter, right? So once I knew I had this opportunity, I searched Google for all the free material that I could find in being an interpreter. I studied all the guides, I read all the material, and one thing that I did is that I burned all of my bridges. I was determined to get hired and to become an interpreter, and there was nothing else in my mind than actually acing that test to start working, right? And my mother-in-law, God bless her soul, actually had to support us, me and my wife and my little kid, for 2 months, because I quit my job so that I could become an interpreter. So I stopped receiving pay, and I thought I was going to become an interpreter right away, but life had something else planned for me. I quit my job in November because of the training, and it was a 40-week training, like 8 hours a day for 5 days. And of course, I was not going to be able to have my other job and do the training. So I quit my job in November because of the training, and then I passed the training, and then Christmas rolled around, and they told us that we would not be getting hired just yet because of all of the holidays, right? The Christmas, a lot of people were not going to be in the office to actually do the whole hiring process, and then the new year rolls around, so they have to do all of these things, right? All of the paperwork and all of that, so it just didn't work for them. And of course, I didn't have a job. Luckily, my mother-in-law, like I said, was able to support us. And so yeah, I didn't get hired until like January 20th. So I was without a job for 2 months. And you bet that during all this time, I was learning everything that I could get my hands on. And all of this time, had to listen to my scorning wife, who repeatedly said that I should have not have quit my job. But I didn't listen, right? And I'm glad I made that decision, though, because my life would have just been an average income paycheck to paycheck life if I had it. And I'm very glad I made that decision. And now when I ask my wife if she's happy that I quit and that I became an interpreter, well, you can guess her answer. And yeah, I mean, there was no training other than the training that I gave myself. And the course, of course, I can't say that if it hadn't been because of that course, I would have flunked that test big time. So that course was a lifesaver, and of course they did it. It was unpaid, but it was free. So it was awesome, and I am very thankful that I had that opportunity. And now, like back then when I first started, I really wanted to become a certified interpreter, but not anymore since I see that my life is taking me on a different path. I honestly, I don't know how long I'm gonna continue to be an interpreter, but getting certified now, it just seems like a waste of money and a waste of time for me because of course I don't see myself being an interpreter in the future. So I don't see any point in putting myself through all of the stress and not working as a certified interpreter for long, right? But like I've said before, I mean, certification is going to make you stand out from the crowd. And if you're certified, that guarantees that you went through that training and you actually are a hard worker, you have dedication, you have skill, and you did all of that to get hired, right? So right off the bat, you know that if you hired a certified interpreter, you're gonna hire an interpreter that actually knows what he's doing, versus if you hire an uncertified interpreter, you're gonna take your chances, right? Because you really know what you're getting. There's nothing to guarantee you that this is a good interpreter, right? And you're gonna take your chances. Of course, a certified interpreter is more expensive, but he will guarantee you that he's gonna do a good job. If you pay an uncertified interpreter, then you don't know what you're getting. It might be less, and you might save a couple of bucks, but it might be a horrible interpretation, or it might be the best interpretation in the world. But you'll never know. So if you plan to work on your own, if you plan to get hired, if you want to be a professional, get certified. Honestly, if you want to be an interpreter the rest of your life, or it's going to be a big chunk of your life, get certified, man. Honestly, it will make a big difference. Or for example, if you're already working for a company and you know you're going to be in that company for a long time and you don't need certification to work in that company, then I would say don't worry about it. So, but that's just my advice. And yeah, I mean, I didn't have any training or anything except for the 40-hour course, which I thought was very good. And of course, you need a 40-hour course to become an interpreter. So I think that's pretty much all you need. And of course, I didn't have any practice materials like my channel, for example, or all of those things. But now you do, like now you have that advantage that, and it's not only our channel that is doing this. There are other channels and other things. Of course, they're not free, they're paid, and of course we're not free either, right? Well, we got the commercials, but if you actually go on Patreon and you support us for as little as $1, we're not asking millions. If you, with whatever you can support us, you're gonna get ad-free videos for all of our medical videos. We have to upload the rest of the videos, but the medical videos are gonna be ad-free. You're gonna get answer sheets, and you are gonna get scripts for the video. So I mean, all that for $1, that's a bargain. If I would have had that training, I think I wouldn't have struggled, or I wouldn't have been that much nervous during my test. So I mean, this is an opportunity for you guys, and I don't know if you already knew that about Patreon, but if you don't, I mean, go ahead and get it. And this is something that we're not gonna keep at that price for a long time. Right now, you get everything that we have in Patreon, which is vocabulary lists and exclusive videos and things like that, and you could get it all from just $1. But as we keep on adding more things, we're thinking of adding an MIP session, which MIP stands for Medical Interpretation Practice. We're gonna start with a new season, so 20 more videos. That one is going to be paid, because we're spending a lot of time and a lot of resources on this, and I wish we could do it for free, but unfortunately we can't. And once we have that session, we're gonna be doing tiers, so you're not gonna be able to get everything for just $1. So I would urge you to go ahead and get it right now, because in the future, we don't know what we're gonna do yet, but I can guarantee you just $1 will probably just get you the scripts and the answer sheets, and then we're just gonna do some more tiers. So I would say go ahead and help us out, help yourself. And yeah, that's gonna be pretty much it for me today. Remember, I'll be here every Monday through Friday after work. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you liked the video for more content and have not done so, and don't forget to share. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.